Welcome back to MGD 111, Photoshop 1. Today we're going to take a look at setting our preferences in Photoshop. Now there are certain settings in Photoshop that come from the factory that probably you want to change for your own purposes. There's certain ones that I think are just completely insane, like the people who programmed this don't actually have to use this program. So first thing I like to do is I turn off the application frame. So go up to Window, Application Frame, and we just get rid of that box in the background there. I just don't like having it there, even though you can see all this other stuff behind here, but it allows us to see our folders and things back there. So now let's go up to Photoshop, Preferences, we go to General. The general ones are pretty well set, I think, so I don't want to mess with those at all. Zoom with scroll wheel. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, it allows you to zoom in by rolling that. I find that kind of annoying, but if you're used to that and you don't accidentally hit that button on your mouse, then go for it. But we want to go to Interface, and one of the first things I like to do is Photoshop comes set with these, see these four boxes up here? They set it on the darkest setting. I like to go to the light gray. There we go. If you've been using Photoshop for a long time, this should look a little more familiar. A couple things that we want to change here. Open Documents as tabs, right down here under Options. Turn that one off. What happens is it opens one window with a whole bunch of tabs in it for all your images, and you can only see one image at a time. And there's a lot of times I like to be able to compare two of them side by side if I'm making a color adjustment that needs to match the other one, and various other reasons. Same with Enable Floating Document Window Docking. That creates a situation where if you slide one picture up next to another one, suddenly they'll create tabs and become one window, and it drives me nuts when that happens. So I'm going to turn both of those off. Sync settings, we don't need to worry about. That has to do with your settings for if you're using Adobe Creative Cloud on the cloud and you're going back and forth between different computers, it will sync the settings between your computers. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm not doing that here. So you have to be signed in under your Adobe ID to do that. File handling, save as to original folder. That just means it's going to default to wanting to put, if you're doing a save as, or changing the name or changing the file type, it's going to go straight to the same folder initially if that's where you'd like to put it. Usually that's the case for me. Save in background, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Again, I'll explain some of these later on as we actually get into Photoshop. Save recovery information. All that's doing is remembering things since you last saved the document. So every 10 minutes it's going to record everything you've done since you last saved it. So if your power goes out or the computer crashes, you're going to be able to use that. Ask before saving layered TIFF files. Again, that's something that we'll cover later on, but yes, you want to do that. Performance, don't worry about that. Cursors. I go with normal brush tip and standard. If you want the same experience that I'm having on screen, you'll want to do those too. Again, it's whatever your particular preference is. Transparency and gamut, don't worry about that. Units and rulers, we want our rulers to be in inches, our type to be measured in points. We will cover typography later on, but if you've never studied type, 72 points per inch. We measure type in points, so you want to be able to do that. Don't worry about the rest of those. Grids, guides, and slices, we can just set the colors for different kinds of guides that we might use on our page. I go with the cyan and magenta and gray. If you have trouble seeing some of these, you might want to switch that to a different color. These show up pretty well on screen for me. Plugins, don't worry about. Type, use smart quotes. Yes, that's a good thing. Enable missing glyph protection. All that's doing is if you have some sort of icon that shows up in one font and then you switch to another font that doesn't use that icon, it will let you know that, hey, there's an orange box here instead of that symbol that you wanted to use. So it'll alert you that there's a problem that you need to fix. And 3D, we're not going to worry about. That's something for later on Photoshop 2. So click OK. Now the cool thing is, by doing this, we have set our preferences, and these have become our new defaults. If you do this when you have a photo open, these preferences only become the preferences for that photo. But if you do it like we did here, where we have no photos open, these become our new default. So the next time we launch Photoshop, it should look like this. So we're going to actually open some documents next time around and get going on this.